Hello, Rebels, and welcome to episode 8 of the Rebel and Reawaken podcast. This is a place where you can begin to cultivate an abundantly fulfilling life in recovery by rebelling against merely surviving and reawakening your passion and zeal for life to really start thriving. So this podcast is geared towards people in recovery from drugs, alcohol, or behaviors, but anyone can benefit from listening to this podcast and the advice given here. I am so glad that you have set aside time to be with us today. It has been just over a month since our last episode dropped, and I just wanted to fill you in on what was going on. So, 2 things. First of all, I have been working on a new project that I am so proud of. It is going to be a 6-week course where you will be able to just dig into what your passions are and what really gives you a zeal for life and start to incorporate those things into your everyday life. We are going to build a vision for your life. We are going to make a plan that actually works so that you don't find yourself giving up on your goals once again for the 100th time. And then we are going to learn about intentional living. So I'm so excited for you guys to be a part of that. It will be out in the world soon. It is going to be amazing and it's going to change lives. And I'm so excited to have it out in the world soon. The other reason I have been MIA for a little over a month now is because I was going through it. I every day teach people and show up for people and try to help them through the tough parts of life. And over the last 30 days or so, basically the entire month of August, the end of July, and all of August, I was drowning in life. I was super stressed out. I am a photographer. I am a life coach and recovery coach. I run Rebel and Reawaken coaching. I am the host of this podcast. And I'm also a mother, wife, and work part-time for a nonprofit who serves families who are at or below the poverty line. And so my plate is very full, and I am very strategic with the way that I balance all of that so that I am showing up at my best for each aspect of my life. And some things happened in July, and it totally just threw me for a loop and created havoc in my schedule for August. And I was trying to get things done, trying to make sure I got podcast episodes out, trying to make sure that I was showing up for you guys on social media, trying to make sure that I was still showing up for my friends and family, and it just was too much. And so I had to take a step back. I had to ask for help. I had to tell my husband that I was not doing well mentally, and we had to come up with a plan for me to get back to some balance in life. And so that is where I have been all of August. But it reminded me that it is so important for us to talk about the need to speak up and ask for help, the need to have a plan in place for whenever you do need help so that you can try to get yourself out of the hole that you've fallen into mentally. And I just want to give you some tools to help you get out of that hole and to help you from getting into that hole to begin with. I teach this stuff every day. I talk to people about it every day. And even I found myself in a mental rut. So don't beat yourself up if you're down. Don't beat yourself up if you're having a hard time mentally right now. Don't beat yourself up because we all go through it. So, there are a few things that we're going to talk about today. And this episode really is for anyone. It's for any human being with a heartbeat. If you're breathing, you can benefit from this because we all have highs and lows. And I heard it once said that if you're either coming out of a battle, going through a battle, or about to go into a battle. And that's kind of dark and twisty, but it's kind of true. No matter where you are in life, you either just fought a really hard battle, you may be going through a battle, or you may be about to go through one. And it may not be for another few years or a few months, but you're probably going to go through another battle soon. So I just want to equip you with some tools that I have in my own arsenal and that I had to pull out the last 30 days to try to pull myself out of the rut that I was in. Okay, so first things first, we are going to talk about HALT. H-A-L-T. It's a concept that's taught in recovery, addiction recovery, alcohol recovery. And so I want to talk about it here because it does apply to everyone. You do not have to be in recovery to use this concept, to use these tools. So, all right. So HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And the name of this podcast episode is, hold please, I have it in my notes and I forgot to have it pulled up. Let's see, the name of this episode is, Staying Strong by Keeping HALT at Bay. Listening to your body's cues. So the first letter in HALT is H, and it stands for hunger. And anytime you are starting to feel overwhelmed or out of control or just uneasy, you're starting to feel a little bit anxious or just not like yourself, it's important for you to stop and HALT, right? Analyze, HALT. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? In early recovery, we are told to make sure that you never get too hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or thirsty, which is something else. But that's just a little add-on on there. But we're told to make sure that we never let ourselves get too of anything, right? Like too hungry, too angry, too lonely, too tired. Because it's when we're in those extremes that we'll make extreme decisions that can lead to some bad choices. And so the first one is hungry. You can ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? And the hunger thing. So when my fiance died and I was severely depressed, I lost about 30 pounds, and my therapist told me that it was because our society equates food with happiness and socializing. So we are a society where when we are excited, we are celebrating, there's usually food at the center of it, right? Like you go to a wedding and there's food. You go to a birthday party and there's food. You go to Valentine's Day shindig and there's food, right? Okay, so our society has created this culture of emotion around food. And so when you are experiencing loneliness or craving a social environment or social interactions, you might start to feel hungry because your brain associates food with socializing. And so while you may be feeling hungry, you may actually also be feeling lonely. So it's important to look at all of these aspects of HALT together. But so the other part of being hungry, is maybe you actually are hungry. I know my teenager, I know me, I know a lot of people use the term hangry, and it refers to somebody who is extremely hungry and has become angry as a result of it. And so a lot of times when you are hangry, you are not a nice person, or you make really bad food decisions. I know that's me. So if I am super, super hungry, when I get home from work, I come in and I open the pantry and the first thing I see is what I shove in my mouth. It's usually a handful of gummy bears, which is why I don't usually buy them, but I messed up and I bought 3 pounds of them the other day. So there is an abundance of gummy bears in my house. Or I'll grab a bag of potato chips and eat half the bag before I realize what I've done. And so back when I was drinking, I would grab a snack and grab a glass of wine to take off the edge while I made dinner. And I don't know if you know this, but alcohol on an empty stomach is not good. So then I'd be thoroughly sloshed by the time dinner was ready, right? And yeah, so make sure that you're not getting too hungry. And see if that hunger is related to any feelings of loneliness that may be resulting because of your environment. Maybe you live alone. Maybe you live isolated from family. Whatever it is, just make sure that you're not letting yourself get too hungry, physically hungry or emotionally hungry. So I know that for some of my clients, hunger is tied to drinking. Just like I said, anytime they start to feel hungry, they also think about alcohol because they have traditionally gone to dinner and then paired it with some sort of wine or whiskey or beer to complement the meal. And so food can be triggering for your addiction. So it's important to make sure that you have a balanced, healthy meal, and so that you're not getting so hungry and your brain just starts looking for whatever it can find to feed that hunger. And then I know some people, like me, grabbing the bag of M&Ms or chips, it can cause a shame spiral. And you're like, you know what? I already screwed up and ate this half bag of chips, so I may as well have half the bottle of wine. Or I already screwed up, so there's no point in going to work out. There's no point in doing all the things I had planned for this evening. I already screwed up, so I'm just going to sit here on this couch and eat the rest of the bag of chips and watch 12 episodes of my show on Netflix and call it a night. Do you see how quickly hunger can spiral out of control and knock you off track from your goals? It is possible. It happens. And I don't want you to succumb to that. So it is important to keep your hunger in check. You can do things like have healthy snacks available to yourself. I usually have sunflower seeds in my glove compartment. My husband hates that I eat sunflower seeds, but they are a good deterrent to me grabbing an unhealthy snack because it keeps my hands and my mouth busy. And that salt takes off the edge of my hunger. So something to just keep in mind, keep some healthy snacks around. Never let yourself get too hungry because it could totally derail you from your goals that you've set for yourself. All right, too angry. This seems pretty self-explanatory, right? Like, duh, you don't want to get too angry. You don't want to hold grudge against anyone. But this one is an easy one. This one can easily creep up on you without you even realizing it. So anger can just fester and fester and fester below the surface. At my previous job, I was so angry and so resentful at my boss, and it just festered under the surface, right? And I found myself drinking more and more and more and getting more and more and more unhealthy. That anger, I did work later. I figured out some things and I realized that at the root of all the things that I was seeing go wrong in my life was that anger that I felt towards my boss and myself for letting myself get into another situation like that. And so it's important to keep your anger under control. Or not under control, but managed, right? You want to have things that you regularly do that help you release your anger, release your tension so that over time you don't become this bitter old person who is just the grumpy old man or woman down the street that all the kids like throw rocks at, right? So you need to be doing a check-in every once in a while. See if there's any anger Are you feeling angry about where you are in life? Are you feeling angry about where other people are in their lives versus where you are in your life? Are you angry at your kids, at your husband, at your coworkers? Like, just check in, because that anger can fester and it can manifest itself in violence, overeating, alcohol abuse. It can result in you turning to gambling or sex or eating to help you deal with the anger that you're feeling. And again, there is some shame that can be associated with that. And so you might be trying to hide your anger because you don't think it's right for you to be angry. You don't feel like you should be angry, or you think society is going to judge you for being angry. So it's important for you to express when you're feeling upset at someone for something, and have some ways for you to release that stress and that bad energy at the end of the day that doesn't involve something that's going to leave you feeling depleted. So you want to have something that you can do, like go for a walk or do some stretches or do some breathing or journaling. If you like to ride your bike, go out and ride your bike, or grab a camera, go outside and take some pictures, go for a walk downtown, paint a picture, something that's going to help you release the negative, angry emotions that you are feeling and express them so that you can get them out and not let them fester below the surface. All right, so loneliness is another one that we need to watch out for. So a lot of times loneliness will manifest itself as tiredness. There was a study that was done, and they interviewed a bunch of incoming and new military personnel. And so, soldiers, not personnel, but actual military people. Sorry, I don't know the right word for it. I'm totally blanking. But I want to say it was Air Force, it was Marines, and Army. So it was the new recruits. They were in basic training, and they did a study to see if loneliness was an issue among this certain group of people. And so they asked these guys and girls how they were feeling. And oftentimes they said they were tired. They were feeling really sleepy. They were sleeping a lot. And when they started working with therapists and the study people, and they figured out that these guys and girls weren't actually tired and sleepy. They were lonely. They were missing their friends and family. They were being taken away from their family and friends they had gotten so used to being around, and now they're in basic training and they were feeling lonely. So all that to say, if you are feeling extremely tired lately, maybe it's time to look at whether or not you're feeling lonely. I know that when I feel lonely, I can be around a group of people, but I still feel lonely. So I live in Dallas. I moved here in 2017, and it was not until this past year that I really got my own group of friends. I have my husband's friends who are my friends. Obviously, we hang out all the time. Not as much as we used to since the pandemic, because things changed. They have kids. We're all doing life. And so, but I didn't have like my group of friends, like the ones I had back home. I had my group of friends back home who were moms like me. We had kids around the same age. We could swap nights of babysitting so that they could go do something and then I could go do something another night. We would have nights where we all hung out in the backyard. It was a community, right? And then I had my other friends. They were single and they'd come hang out with me so that I wouldn't be alone because I was a single mom. But so I had this community where I could just pick up the phone and say, hey, do you want to come over and watch a movie? Or, hey, can you take my daughter so that I can go hang out with some friends? It didn't matter what it was. If I needed something, I could pick up the phone and any number of people would be there to sit with me, or I could go and sit with them, right? I didn't have that here. And so while I was surrounded by people, our other friends and my husband and my daughter, I felt lonely because I didn't have that community that I had had back home. And I realized that I was truly longing for it. Yes, it's great to have your husband to talk to. It's great to share moments with your children. But we need to have a group of people, a few people that we can call and say, hey, let's meet up and play board games. Hey, let's meet up and go for a walk. Hey, I'm feeling down. Can you come sit with me? Like, you need to have those kinds of people. And so if you're feeling off, here's another one to look at. Are you feeling lonely? There are different ways to combat loneliness. I hear from people all the time, it's so hard to make friends as an adult. It's so hard to make friends in this city. It's hard to make friends no matter where you go. So I always tell my clients, I'm like, you've got to hop on social media. I know it seems counterintuitive, but there are groups on social media. If you're a mom, there's like the Dallas Moms group. If you're into biking, there's bike groups on Facebook. I guarantee you, if you got on Facebook and searched for your city's name plus whatever your interest is, there will be groups that pop up. And I have made some great friendships from those groups. Another thing is I made friends at church. My church has things called connect groups. And so I hopped onto the website, found 5 or 6 connect groups that interest me, and I went. They were all on different days. They were all at different times. I had one that was a Tuesday night, one that was a Thursday night, and one that met every other Saturday, and then another one that met the other Saturdays. And so I went to all of them, and I stuck with some of them, didn't stick with others, but I have met some really great friends from those groups. But I have to tell you that you have to put yourself out there. You have to take a step forward, because if you don't, and you stay in your apartment, you stay in your house, and you don't take a step towards meeting people, you're gonna continue to feel lonely. I promise there are people out there with similar interests to yours that want friends too. You just have to put yourself out there. So that's the loneliness piece. And then tiredness. Okay, so we were talking about how you can be tired and lonely at the same time, or hungry and lonely, and those could be the same thing. But so being tired, right? Like, this is another one. When I'm tired, I get grumpy. And when I get grumpy, I am mean. And then when I am mean, I feel really bad about it. Yeah. So commence the shame spiral now, right? Yes. Okay. It's important not to let yourself get too tired. That is exactly what I did in August. It was a little out of my control. There wasn't really much I could have done about it. I had to just push through the busy schedule and just deal with it. But what I am guilty of is that I was not going to bed when I should have. I was staying up entirely too late, knowing that I had such a long day ahead of me. And I didn't delegate as much as I should have. And so, yes, I can admit when I'm wrong. Yes, I can admit when I've done things that I shouldn't have. And those are the things that I should not have done last month, because I let myself get too tired. And I was exhausted. And with exhaustion come feelings of hopelessness. And hopeless is somewhere that you don't want to be. Hopelessness leads to suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts. So you just want to avoid that hopelessness as much as possible. And you do that by asking for help. You do that by reaching out and telling someone how you're feeling. It's so important not to let yourself get too tired, too overwhelmed. Ask for help, delegate, go to sleep when you're supposed to, get a good night's rest, fight for your rest. I usually prioritize my sleep, and I will literally nap anytime I need to. I love naps. But I just last month did not do what I knew I was supposed to, and tiredness was a huge part of it. And so I just want to encourage you to make sure you're getting enough rest. It is insane the amount of impact that rest can have on your life. When I don't get enough sleep, I'm nauseous. I feel hungover. And I don't even drink anymore. So it's hungover for no reason. I get nauseous. I have that icky feeling. I can't concentrate. My head hurts. Yeah, the whole 9 yards. Like, I feel dehydrated. So it is so important for you to make sure that you're getting enough rest. There are natural sleep aids out there. There's melatonin. There's sleepy time tea, which is one of my favorites. There are relaxing tonics out there. There's now like CBD drinks. There's all kinds of options out there to help you relax. I actually just got some personalized vitamins that I really love. And one of the vitamins in there is to help me relax and unwind at the end of the night. And then another one is to help with kind of like muscle relaxing. It's not a muscle relaxer, but it helps your muscles and your joints relax so that you can kind of slow down at the end of the night. And it has worked wonders for me to be able to like shut my brain off and start to unwind without that groggy, chemically feeling the next day that some sleep aids can have. So it is super important for you to make sure that you are not getting too tired. Have a nighttime routine where you go to bed at the same time every night, even on the weekends. I know that's so old lady. But even on the weekends, I try to go to bed at least 30 to 45 minutes around my normal weeknight bedtime. And I try to wake up around the same time. I do like to sleep in on the weekends. My daughter never lets me. For those of you with little children, it does not get better when they turn into teenagers, because then they are toddlers with full vocabularies. You're welcome. Anyway, so it's important to have a sleep routine, get your good sleep, good rest. If you're having trouble falling asleep at night, you can journal. I keep a journal by my bed. Sometimes I do it on my phone. It's not really great to do it on your phone because the whole like blue light thing, and it can mess with your sleep. So if you have the night mode on your phone, that can help. But sometimes I just grab a journal and write whatever it is that I'm thinking. Sometimes when I can't sleep, it's usually because I'm thinking about what I have to do the next day and trying to devise a plan on how to best attack the day. So what I do is I stop the crazy train and I grab my journal and I write down the things in my brain, because I know I'm going to end up forgetting the next day, and then I'm going to be starting from scratch. And that also is anxiety provoking for me. So just getting it out and getting it on paper will work wonders. So journal, draw, doodle, read, find a nice boring book that can put you to sleep, put your book by your bed and have that help you fall asleep. It's just really important that you get good sleep. Okay, so that's HALT. So that's how you stay strong by keeping HALT at bay. So when will you use HALT? It can be everyday life if you are working towards goals, whether it's trying to stay sober or just trying to lose weight or trying to save more money, trying to fill in the blank, whatever it is, trying to start a new business, whatever it is that you're trying to work towards, it is important to keep HALT at bay because it can derail you. If you're trying to save money and you let yourself get too hungry, guess what? You're probably going to go spend money on fast food or junk food or the first restaurant that you see that looks delicious, and there is now money missing from your account, right? If you are trying to lose weight and you are angry and you're just like, you know what? I don't even want to deal with this anymore. I'm just going to go home, put on my pajamas and sit on the couch because I'm so upset and I'm just frustrated and I don't even want to do anything anymore. I don't even want to be around any people. Well, now you've let anger and HALT derail your plans to go to the gym after work. So it is extremely important for you to keep HALT at bay while you're working towards your goals. Okay, so that's keeping HALT at bay. Now I want to talk about some tools that I used to help pull me out of my rut. Because I totally dropped the ball on keeping HALT at bay. I told you. I totally let myself get way too tired, which then resulted in me getting really angry with my husband, which then led to me feeling really lonely and I was hungry for my normal routine of like going out for a run or going to yoga or meeting my friends at yoga and then going out for smoothies afterwards. I didn't have time for any of it. And I didn't stop and analyze any of that. It all piled up and got the best of me. And so when I realized how bad it had gotten, I stopped and I did these things. I asked for help. I told someone what was going on. And then I got back to my roots of what brings me true joy. Those are the three things I did. And actually, the first thing I did was tell somebody. And that is the most important thing. Like, you have to tell someone how you're feeling. You cannot suffer in silence. I don't know how many times I have had clients who are in early recovery relapse because they didn't tell me how they were feeling. We were between sessions. They didn't want to be a bother. They thought they could get through it on their own. Bottom line, they didn't tell anybody. And telling someone what you're going through and what you're feeling is different than asking for help. That's part 2. Telling someone just means telling someone. It doesn't have to be your family. It doesn't have to be your friends. There are hotlines out there. The suicide prevention hotline. There's mental health hotlines. There are substance abuse hotlines. Hell, you can call a stranger. Text any random number. But the important thing is that you get it out of your head. You've got to get it out in the world. Verbalize it. Make it real. So that then your brain can get to work trying to find a solution for it. So literally all I did was text my husband and say, I am not well. That's all it took. I am not well. And he said, what do you mean? And I was like, well, my mental health is really bad right now. And that started the conversation. But the first thing you have to do is tell someone that you are struggling. Tell someone that you're hurting. Tell someone that life has come to be too much. Tell someone that you need help. You have to tell someone. Don't suffer in silence. Don't let your pain stay inside and then lead to these behaviors and these things that are only going to bring you further down. Don't don't just let it fester inside and then wake up in 3 weeks after a 3-week bender, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, anger, isolation, whatever, and realize that all you needed to do was tell someone. So this is me telling you, please tell someone. That's step 1. Step 2 is asking for help. So in my course, this is one of the things that we do, the course that I'm creating that I talked about at the beginning of the episode, is we sit down and we go through your agenda, go through your calendar for the entire week, and we see what can be delegated. What can you ask for help with? If you are a woman, we tend to think that we have to do it all and that we should be able to do it all. And if we can't, then we are failures. And that is bullshit. Plain and simple. We were not meant to do it all. We weren't meant to carry it all. We weren't meant to do it alone. We were made for community, and we were made to be partners with our spouses, our husbands, our wives, whatever. We were not meant to do it alone. So stop trying. And the same goes for men. We were made to be your helper, not your do it all for you. No, but seriously, none of us were meant to do it on our own. So ask for help. There are plenty of people who would love to help you. If you're a single mom and you need a night out on your own, there are mom co-ops out there where there are other single moms who would love to swap services with you. Maybe you take their kids for an hour and then they'll take your kids for an hour the next day. Or maybe they'll come over and cook dinner. They'll bring over dinner for your family and then you can bring dinner to theirs. We should be helping each other. So ask for help. If you don't know where to start, message me. I have a ton of resources that I'd be happy to share with you. And if I don't know, I'll help you find out. Okay. So ask for help. And then the last thing is getting back to your roots of what brings you passion and joy. So for me, like I've said a million times, yoga and running and going for walks and being around people is what brings me joy and zeal and passion. So those are the things that I tried to get back to. Oh, and exploring. Yeah, I like to explore or travel. So my husband and I were able to go and take a few days in Seattle. And then we spent time doing a fundraiser for Team World Vision, where my husband and 11 other runners started at the top of Mount Hood in Oregon and ran to Seaside, Oregon, which is a grand total of 196 miles split between 12 runners. There were 2 drivers. It was me and another lady. We were separated into 2 vans, 6 runners in each van, and it is a relay race. So van 1 takes off, their runners do all 6 of their legs, then we swap out and van 2 takes off, all 6 runners do our 6 legs, and then you swap off one more time, each van. But yeah, so it ended up being 35 hours of driving on 3 hours of sleep, 6 stinky runners, and me. I was in a van with 6 guys. It was so much fun. It was some much needed laughing and joking around and raising money for an amazing cause, because those are the things that bring me joy. Those are the things that make me happy. I love giving back. I love being around people. I love being in nature. And let me tell you, from the top of Mount Hood to Seaside, Oregon is some of the most beautiful nature you will ever see in your entire life. It is gorgeous. It is beautiful. But I spent some real time getting back to what brought me joy. And I included in that was getting back to church, because church is a big part of my life, and going to church and just getting into the Bible, those things mean a lot to me. Prayer, worship, Bible study. So I did those things too. And I just spent some time throughout the second half of August trying to make time for myself. And in my course, I teach you to start with 15-minute increments. And that's really what I had to do. I had to get back to the basics, remember what I teach, and to practice what I preach, and just get back to what brought me true joy, right? I had to get back outside, go for short walks, do some yoga. I couldn't get to the yoga studio, so I had to do some stretches here at home. But I got back to what brought me true joy. And if you've never done that sort of exercise, I invite you to just sit down and remember back to when you were a child. And just remember those things that brought you true, genuine joy when you were a kid. I think that was our very first episode. You can go back and listen to that one. And it's about cultivating true childlike joy in your life and how important that is. So those were the 3 things that I did that I want to remind you of in case you are struggling right now, in case you are in a mental rut. Ask for help, tell someone, and get back to the things that bring you true joy. It is so important to keep HALT at bay, to keep yourself from even ever falling into that rut. Remember, don't ever let yourself get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And thirsty is a good one to put in there too, because if you're thirsty, you might make some poor decisions. But I just want to just love on you this week and be real honest about where I'd been the last month, and just help you to see that you're not alone. We all struggle. We all go through crap. We all have times when we are just not in a mentally great place. We all have times when we're sad and we don't really know why. It's important to be in tune with your body, listen to what your body is telling you, and try to get to the root of what you're feeling. Just like with the hungry thing, you may not actually be hungry, you may actually be lonely. So just take some time to really listen to your body and figure out what you need, and feed it with good things instead of turning to drugs, alcohol, binge eating junk food, or sitting on the couch instead of going for a walk. Just feed yourself well this week. And remember, if you need help, there is help out there, and there are people who would love to talk to you. Me included. I always have my contact information in the show notes. If you are watching this or listening to this on the website, the Rebel and Reawaken website, there is a little tiny lowercase I icon on the page. And if you click on that, it will show you some options. So it will be underneath the episode title. There will be like a little series of lines that look like volume lines where it's like sound playing. To the right, bottom right of those lines, there's a lowercase I, and that will expose the show notes. So I have never pointed that out, but I feel like it's important. I want you to know where my contact information is. If you ever need to talk, you can text that number that is listed there and just say help. I will get right back to you and we can talk about it, whatever it is. I do not want you to suffer in silence. You should never suffer alone. There are people out there. There are resources out there. I am happy to help put you in touch with those resources. But you're not alone. You are not alone. And it is worth fighting for. It is worth fighting for another day. It does not always have to be this way. You're not always going to feel this overwhelmed, this stressed out, this bogged down. And the easiest way to lift your burden is to share it with someone else. So thank you for tuning in today. I hope today's episode taught you at least one thing, and I hope it helped you to see that you were made for more than merely surviving. You were made for thriving. Crumbs are for the birds. You were made for the feast. Don't forget that. For more information on our 6-week course that is going to be coming out soon, it is called Cultivating an Abundantly Fulfilling Life by Reigniting Your Passions and Zeal for Life. Please visit the show notes and text course to the phone number listed there. If you want to dig in deeper each week and create your own personalized roadmap for cultivating an abundantly fulfilling life, then hop on over to our Patreon page. Link is in the show notes too. And become a Rebel VIP today. As a Rebel VIP, you get a companion episode to this episode and each episode each week, along with some homework that you can do that will help personalize today's lesson to meet your needs right where you are. Not in recovery, no worries. Just like with every episode that drops, we share information that can be helpful to anyone in any walk of life. And last but not least, if this episode is making an impact on your life, please share it. That is how we grow. If you subscribe, you'll never miss an episode. Take a screenshot, share it on your social stories, and tag me. I am at Teresa Enca. That's Teresa, E-N-C-A, all one word, on all social media platforms. You can also see the links to my social media platforms in the show notes. I will be forever thankful to you for sharing this episode or any of the episodes with someone that you love that you think could benefit from it. As always, be well, be kind, and may you find some joy this week. Bye.